Well, President Biden arrived in the UK just a couple hours ago, and the big part of this visit, the NATO summit. And new today, the president says he doesn't believe Ukraine is ready for NATO membership. But first, the president is in London tonight. He will be meeting with King Charles. And NewsNation correspondent Joe Khalil live in D.C. tracking the president's overseas trip. Joe?
And Natasha, so President Biden landed shortly after 5 p.m. Eastern time, set to kick off one of the most consequential weeks of his entire presidency when it comes to foreign policy. And as Ukraine continues its counteroffensive now, hoping to fend off the invading Russian forces for good, a lot of the American and European response to this is going to be decided at this NATO meetup in the coming days. Ahead of a consequential NATO summit this week, President Biden begins his travel tonight, heading to the UK to meet with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, and later for a meeting with King Charles Monday to discuss climate policy. This is President Biden's first meeting with the king since he was crowned. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says the trip will showcase the president's leadership on the world stage, but these UK meetings just a precursor for more intense talks to come this week about the future of NATO and the war in Ukraine.
I don't think there is unanimity in NATO about whether or not to bring Ukraine into the NATO family.
On the agenda, strengthening NATO in the face of Russia's war, and a debate whether to approve Sweden's bid to join the alliance. But on Ukraine potentially joining while in the midst of war, President Biden says that is a much harder pill to swallow. It would mean the whole NATO alliance, per its own rules, would be obligated to join the war against Russia.
NATO is a process that takes some time to meet all the qualifications, and from democratization to a whole range of other issues. So in the meantime, though, I've spoken with Zelensky at length about this, and one of the things I indicated is the United States would be ready to provide, while the process was going on, and it's going to take a while that process was going on, to provide security.
Security meaning American weapons and aid. And now that includes cluster bombs. President Biden approved sending the controversial weapon to Ukraine, despite more than 100 nations having banned them for their ability to attack indiscriminately. The move welcomed by some lawmakers, criticized by others.
I have some real qualms about it. If there's an international prohibition and the U.S. says, but here's a good reason to do something different, it could give a green light to other nations to do something different as well.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine joining NATO would send a message that the alliance isn't afraid of Russia. In the meantime, the war-ravaged country thanking the U.S. for its help thus far, and to American lawmakers who say we've given enough support to Ukraine already. Zelensky says,
"We Ukrainians are not people known for excessive appetites. Our victory is enough for us. Honestly, when we have enough for our victory, then it will be enough."
So, Natasha, on the question of Sweden joining NATO, they are nearly there. There's almost unanimous support for them doing so. And that's what it takes. All of the NATO countries accepting a new member before they're able to join. But there are two, Turkey and Hungary, that have been pushing back because they have some issues with a couple of Swedish domestic policies. However, that's something President Biden says he thinks is going to get resolved in the next couple of days. That is a key issue in addition to the war in Ukraine that is going to be taken up this week. Natasha.
Okay, I appreciate the update. Joe Khalil live for us in Washington tonight. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.